Let's bring you more reaction now to the State of the Province address. I do understand my colleague Natasha Piri is standing by. Natasha?
Well, very good evening to you once again, Bongi. Well, that concludes Premier Panyaza Lesufi's State of the Province address. Of course, as usual, we're always joined by various leaders of political parties here. And I'm now joined by Tshwane Simang. I heard the Premier there, making reference to you a number of times. Are you happy with his speech, especially around issues of energy security?
Well, Natasha, today we've just had a pie in the sky that was delivered with down-to-earth humility. We've heard of how RDPs are going to be open using, biometrics. We've heard about a bullet train that is going to be between Gauteng and Limpopo. It reminds me of a whole lot of promises that were made by Cyril Ramaphosa when he took over office, and we're still nowhere near half of those. What we welcome is the announcement around the electricity initiatives. But again, we are going to be monitoring what they are actually going to be putting out there. We'll be asking questions about the implementations plan. And what we've heard is a whole lot of wishy-washy relating to issues of e-tolls. He says they are scrap, but he's not telling the people of Gauteng the portion of the bill, number one. Number two is not telling the people of Gauteng how we are going to be paying for this. Because I said to you, and I'm still repeating, there is still going to be a lot of money that the residents of Gauteng are going to be paying for e-tolls. So yes, we might have switched off the gantries, but as things stand, the residents of Gauteng are still going to suffer and are still going to pay for the e-tolls, amongst other things.
I think what was interesting, the biometric system for RGB houses, how is that going to happen?
Well, yeah, again, that's why I'm saying pie in the sky, delivered with the greatest of humility. Biometrics, opening of RDP doors, of RDP houses, while you're failing to put electricity, the basic of things, you're failing to put those there, but now you are coming to tell us about RDP houses. But let's now take it a step further. He then says we are going to have sponsors that are going to have free Wi-Fi so that the government department can order from them. What will they be ordering at these spaza shops? So I think, we are being taken for a ride here. And we are going to be asking some serious questions going forward. He spoke about, the panic buttons that they're going to give. You want to give people panic buttons while police don't even have vehicles. So how are they going to respond? They're going to come flying or riding on hopes to get to crime scenes. These are some of the things that we have been saying. Address the most basic first before selling anybody the pipe dreams that he has been selling here today.
But surely you should be happy or satisfied about the issue of lifestyle audits. This is something that the DA also has been calling for.
Well, we have been calling for lifestyle audits. And what has happened here and a lifestyle audit are two different things. We have asked not to do vetting, but to do a lifestyle audit. Two different things. For you to then say, I've been interviewed once, and then nobody has actually then checked, my banks have not checked, my lifestyle, whether it is actually then supported by my salary or there is things that are untowards. Then these are things that we need to then still be asking. Did you really do a lifestyle audit, or did you just have a conversation for 30 minutes with the SIU, and then that was regarded as a lifestyle, audit? I think we're still going to be asking a lot in the legislature in this coming year.
2024 is the DA coming into power. Could you be the next Premier of Gauteng?
Well, I don't know about. I don't know if I will be the Premier. I think the DA processes will still unfold. But what I can tell you is that I think he so desperately wanted to deliver an election speech here today, and this is why we're hearing all sorts of dreams, because they also realize that the writing is indeed on the wall.
Thank you so much. That was Tshwane Simang. Of course, Bongi and our Full View viewers, we continue to bring you rolling coverage of, the SOPA here, and of course what the various political parties have to say. I'm now joined by Baloi of the Action SA, and of course you will forgive us, it's quite congested down here. Mr. Baloi, thank you so much for joining us in SABC News. Are you happy? He did mention some of the things that you actually penned and that you somewhat wanted to hear from him.
Not some, all of it. I think it's a fair speech. Beautiful plans, but a plan is as good as its implementation. So we congratulate the speaker, the Premier on his inaugural speech. I really think he dealt with the issues, and we're excited with the fact that he put crime at the top of the list. So I think for us the issue here is how is it going to undermine corruption that's endemic in the province, inability to implement the plans in the province, and also issues of maladministration. But for us, I think it's a speech that's sensible, and he touched on everything that we had addressed, and I think we're quite excited.
Thank you so much. Well, Bongi, I'm not alone on the red carpet. I'm also joined by my colleague Mbalete Mthethwa, and she'll be speaking to the Provincial Secretary of the ANC shortly, TK Ngliza, while I try to get the leader of the EFF in the province, Nkululeko Dunga.
Well, we continue to get reaction from politicians here, and one of the people that we're going to be speaking to is the ANC Provincial Secretary. You would have heard during the address the Premier talking about interventions in the Tshwane matter. We heard just before the address really that first resignation letter stands, meaning that the city of Tshwane is without an executive. Thank you so much for speaking to us. We've heard the news in Tshwane. We've heard the Premier talking about plans to intervene. Is this good news for you as the ANC, given that you have promised and vowed to go after every single municipality that is led by the Democratic Alliance?
First of all, let me greet your viewers at home. We've been speaking about a disastrous DA for the past 5 years. Tshwane has collapsed because of Democratic Alliance. In fact, they are thugs, they are thieves. In fact, they masquerade as the best things ever because of the Western Cape. But the reality is that Tshwane must be rescued. The people of Tshwane are drinking dirty water. The people of Tshwane have been collapsed for a very long time. They are suffering. We're leading the biggest march to Tshwane on the 17th of March as the African National Congress. We're calling all people of Tshwane to come out and cry and shows the South Africans the pain that they've been through since DA has taken over Tshwane. We welcome what the Premier would have said. In fact, we've been saying that if we don't intervene in that Tshwane, the people of Tshwane will see themselves sleeping in bushes. They have collapsed that Tshwane, they've collapsed that municipality, and as the African National Congress was serious about taking it back. We're busy with coalition discussions. We believe in the next sitting in Tshwane, things will not be the same.
Are you saying that there's going to be an ANC replacement for the mayor that just resigned?
We are not obsessed about being mayors. We're obsessed about making sure that we take services to our people. You see, this thing of always thinking that it must be an ANC mayor, it's not for us. We are now faced with coalitions, and coalitions are part of us. How we deal and how we work on them is very critical. We have a lot of seats in Tshwane. There are many other political parties that have got seats in Tshwane that have started engaging with us because they also agree under the African National Congress, under Sputla, Tshwane was in best hands. Now it has collapsed. We are going to fix it with other political parties.
So this is going to be, we're going to see a coalition agreement between various political parties, including the ANC. But what kind of intervention are you hoping to see?
Look, we want to make sure that the people of Tshwane, at least the issue of electricity, the issue of water, which is the biggest crisis they are facing. I mean, they don't collect garbage in Tshwane. It has collapsed. It's worse when it comes to fruitless expenditure. How does 5 billion gets, it just vanishes from nowhere. And nobody's talking about it because it's under DA. Because a lot of things that happens in this country and it's DA administration, the media does not put it in front pages. We will put it in front pages every day because that's a reality of this country.
Are you saying the DA enjoys a special relationship with the media of sorts?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying it is important. It is about time that we must show the rot that is happening and that is being done by Democratic Alliance that still believes that they are best boys of our people.
Okay, thank you so much for speaking to us. There you have it. That is the ANC's Provincial Secretary. MEC for Education, your portfolio receiving somewhat of the lion's share, plans to refurbish schools, rebuild schools. Are you up for the task?
No, definitely. We've already put everything in motion. It's only time. So as the Premier has spoken, from the 1st of April, we're rolling on, we're moving. So we're more than ready.
And what can we expect? I mean, what are your thoughts on the outcomes of this address?
No, the Premier has really brought confidence to the people of our province, especially parents who are worried about their children, that we are building, we have put firm focus on infrastructure development, And with the 18 schools that have been announced, really, we can assure the residents of Gauteng that their children will be in good school. We'll be doing away with overcrowding in schools.
Certainly. Thank you so much for speaking to us. We get word from the opposition parties. One of those is the IFP. We are joined by an IFP representative. Thank you so much, Bonkosi Dlamini, for speaking to us. Your thoughts? I mean, I've spoken to some, and some have expressed unhappiness with the address.
Well, as the IFP, one thing that disappoints is that there's always grand plans, there's always interventions, there's always plans tabled, but there is no implementation. The Premier today has ticked all the boxes correctly so, but our biggest worry is in the implementation of these issues. He is correct when he spoke about, used about 60% of his speech talking about crime and how to deal with it, but the fact of the matter, the elephant in the room, has always been a corruption and non-implementation of these things.
Okay, so with regards to, other areas, where he talks about tackling crime, you've spoken about that, but he talks about education, he talks about the healthcare industry and how they plan to then beef it up and capacitate it in order to service our residents of Gauteng. Your thoughts on?
Yes, as I said to you, that he has ticked all the boxes for me very correctly. He has spoken about crime, economy, health, education, early childhood development, and the future ranks, future schools, future this. But the fact, as we say, we welcome it, but the fact is in the implementation. What is being said on paper or on speeches must be felt by our people on the ground.
And if you were to compare the current speech that you've just heard to previous speeches, I mean, what would you say? Have there been, have these speeches been followed by results and action?
Oh, well, when you compare the speech of the Premier now and the Premier David Makura when he came in 2019, they have the same promises, they have the same big plans, but our biggest worry, as I always say, is in the implementation.
I thank you so much for speaking to us. There you have it, one of the opposition parties just speaking to us on this.
Well, thank you so much. That was my colleague Mbalente Mthetha. I'm now joined by the ACDP leader here in the Gauteng province, Bishop Dalton Adams. Thank you so much for joining us. You heard a lot was spoken about the Township economy, the Township Development Act. Are you happy? Do you think that really, SMMEs and business owners and entrepreneurs will be empowered in the townships?
Yeah, I want to tell the citizens of Gauteng, Natasha, I don't want to be in opposition just for opposition's sake. I'm a realist, I'm a pragmatist, and I think that the Premier today is ticking all the right boxes. There's no doubt about that. He is speaking the language that the people want to hear in Gauteng, the challenges that is directly affecting them. But I want to say the devil lies in the implementation. So I want to admonish the Premier that which he says, he must make sure it's implemented. He must put his money where his mouth is. But I want to make an appeal, Natesh, is that especially when it comes to crime, I really tick all the boxes for crime. But when it comes to the areas of Westbury and Clem and Eldos, particularly our constituency, I would want to speak to him to bring in the army there, because our children are being shot every single day. But I'm happy. I am not negative. This is a positive speech from the Premier.
In terms of the e-tolls, is this something that you're happy about? I know a lot of political parties have been saying that this is a tool to campaign. I mean, we're just a stone throw away from the 2024 elections, and a lot of people have been saying that the Premier is actually politicking on this one.
Yeah, we sincerely hope, not only on the e-tolls, but all of the things the Premier mentions. He mustn't politicize this, because our people are in dire straits, our people are crying out for help. Don't politicize the e-tolls. And I want to say to the Premier, if he says it's totally scrap, show it to the people that it's totally scrap, pay the people back that paid money, and then also make sure that gantries are taken away completely.
Eskom?
Well, Eskom, he says a lot about Eskom in terms of having mixed energies and alternatives, and going to put in, I think, about 6 billion rand is going to put in there to make sure that they have a plant in Merafong. We hope that happens. It's about implementation once again, and the people of Gauteng want to see things happening for them.
But are all these plans feasible? Looking at the amount of money that the Premier was busy talking about, it's running into billions of rands.
It's a lot of money that the Premier is talking about. He's talking about big billions here. We hope that he mentioned the private sector 5 times. So I'm hoping that he's got the private sector on board, because government does not have that money. And we want to say to the Premier, it will be foolhardy of him to make such big promises and he cannot implement it.
And issues around crime and corruption?
Well, crime for us as the ACDP is a major challenge, but he's talking about the e-panic buttons. But we want to tell him, Premier, don't let it be like the 10-111 stations. He's talking about the command center. We want all these things to work together so that they can actually help bring down the crime levels. He's talking about helicopters and cars and stuff like that. So we want to see this squad cars approach that the Premier has to bring down the crime, corruption. He's talking about with the procurement line, the officials, because for me that's where the problem is. He says that all MECs has been cleared, but we're saying that look at the officials there where the money is being lost.
Bishop, thank you so much. Always a pleasure talking to you. Well, the ACDP here in the province saying that Premier Lesufi has ticked all the right boxes in terms of his first state of the province address, but the proof, I beg your pardon, is in the pudding. This is as I toss over back to my colleague Mbalete Mteta, who is with the EFF leader here in the province, Nkululeko Dunga.
Thank you, Natasha. We continue to get reaction, and right now I speak to EFF Provincial Chairperson Nkululeko Dunga. Thank you so much for speaking to us. You've expressed unhappiness with the address today. You are saying that it's somewhat of a dream. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, no, I think the man was seriously dreaming. And I think the only fools are going to be the people of Gauteng, because he keeps referring that everything will be done and implemented on the 1st of April. And we know the 1st of April is April Fool's Day. Now, he has said a lot of things, but what we ought to have caught attention is that at least he's a little bit inspired by the EFF's manifesto positions, which is the establishment of a pharmaceutical company, an establishment of a development bank, an establishment of a state bank. Although he cannot really speak of the implementation thereof, because when he speaks of a pharmaceutical company, he only refers to it at the supply of medication and does not go to the extent of engaging of a pharmaceutical company that would actually deal with medical equipments and actually supplying medical equipments that are 10 years or older than that are still currently being used by many of these hospitals and clinics across the country. He did not mention anything on the youth unemployment rate. He refers to it but does not speak in depth of it. It is a crisis in Gauteng when our unemployment rate is much more higher than the national average, when our GDP contribution is much more higher than the national average in the entire of South Africa. It does not mention it. We are currently standing at over 40% in terms of unemployment just here in Gauteng. He speaks of assisting spaza shops. He spoke about it when he first came into power, to say that they will allocate about 500 million rand in terms of spaza shop owners and this entire system that he was speaking of. But he makes a statement here to say that only 50 million has actually been allocated to about 40 spaza shop owners. There is a spaza shop in each and every single street in Gauteng. What is 50 million? What is 40 spaza shop owners going to do in terms of the assistance of society and the Ikasi economy or township economy that he speaks of? He spoke of the schools and early childhood development centers. It's the EFF position that there should be an early childhood development center in each and every single ward. But for him to actually tell us that they are even going to practice simple things such as sport, when he has failed as the MEC of education to ensure that there's sporting codes in each and every single high school, let alone primary schools, is something left to be desired for. He speaks of 400 cars that are going to be purchased in ensuring that each and every single ward has an allocation of a car. I think that he's going to want to use those cars to actually canvass votes for the ANC when it comes to election election purposes. They will be doing loud hailing more than they will be doing the work of governance, because we've got 200 ambulances or less that are currently functioning. We've got 700 that are just lying there, that are not being used because there are no paramedics and because there are no drivers for them. Why not ensure that those are in good standing? Why not ensure that you hire the necessary drivers and paramedics? It's 700 plus the 200 will give you 900. It will assist in terms of emergency relief. Now, he mentions that Mrafong should be called a disaster area. We had Ashanti Gold that is currently stationed there. The department has spent over billions in terms of that particular Ashanti Gold hospital in Carltonville that was stationed there, that was never used, by the way. Now he wants to identify a new place where they are going to spend more millions. And how is that possible when they could not even use the current resources towards them? He speaks of the Department of Education and the increasing of building of schools to 18, when the very same department underspent almost 400 million rand in the previous financial year.
And what about the refurbishments to housing and hostels?
Well, look, he made that commitment when he first came into office. And you know, we live amongst people of hostels. We live amongst hostel dwellers. And I can tell you now that there is no such a thing. The people of George Hoch, even till today, still do not have the basic necessities such as water, let alone Wi-Fi.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. I'm joined by the Freedom Front Plus. Your reaction, sir?
Well, we think the Premier is very over-optimistic and getting all the money together to spend all the money that he needs to implement his programs in the first place. We like his focus on the township economic development. That's a good thing, and our party supports that. But I don't think the way he's doing it is correct. We think that there must be more industrialization taking place within the townships. And the way he's doing it is actually very superficial. And he's going to spend a lot of money, and he probably won't create a lot of jobs that will be permanent. Also, what we found problematic is that he didn't focus on the province as a whole. He should actually have crafted an economic plan for the whole province, together with a power plan. And we didn't really see that come together. If we actually get the whole economy to work in Gauteng, we will see more job opportunities being created. We will see a lowering of crime as a result. We will see a lowering of socioeconomic problems as a result. And we don't see him actually planning in a holistic manner. And therefore, his plans will not result in what he thinks it will result in, and it will fall shallow. And we also think that these plans are very much short-term focused on 2024 elections, and he's trying to get people to vote for him based on these plans.
There you have it, both the EFF as well as the Freedom Front Plus saying that this could potentially be an electioneering campaign. Over to you, Natasha.
Well, thank you so much, Bailey. I'm now joined by MEC Tasneem Matara, and she's the MEC of Economic Development. MEC, a lot of plans to revitalize the township economy and a lot of money being pumped into the township economy. Is it feasible, though, and where is this money going to come from?
Thanks. It's not only feasible, but it's important that we do it. Majority of our residents in Gauteng live in townships. Where's the money going to come from? Partly from ourselves and part from other funds. So for instance, we've put up a fund that is co-funded by IDC. We've also entered into a match fund process with people who come with proposals from the private sector. So for instance, if you bring us 10 million, we will match that fund with 10 million. It's both to leverage but also just to expand what we have to do. So for us, the township economy is very, very critical to be able to not only generate new jobs but also just to reignite the economy of Gauteng.
The provincial government also, wants to do something very interesting. Boost and redeem spaza shops. There's also a model of how spaza shops should be run. In terms of the time frames, what are we looking at?
So it's ongoing. It actually has started once we implemented and passed the Township Economic Development Act. That gave us the necessary legal framework and the tools to be able to implement it. So it's ongoing. The township spaza shops has been largely unregulated. We know that it is a proliferation for illegal goods, fake goods, expired goods. And of course, the township residents are the ones who bear the brunt of that. So we want to not only formalize but regulate, make sure that we combine buying power and efforts to be able to also make use of economies of scale. Of course, not without being xenophobic, we want to be able to make sure that South Africans own the economy of South Africa. It's very important.
Just briefly in 30 seconds, the taxi fund, 20 million rand, that's a seed fund for taxi owners or the taxi industries.
It's going to establish taxi economic zones where we'll place both retail as well as services to the taxi economy. So you'll be able to maintain service parts for the taxi, but also link it with retail so that a taxi rank becomes a small economy of its own in Township.
And you see, thank you so much for your time. Of course, these are the various reactions, not only from political parties, but various MECs here after the State of the Province address. But I guess South Africans and Gauteng citizens, the proof is in the pudding. You will be the judge. Will all of these plans be implemented? I guess we'll just have to wait and see.